What's going on, guys? It's your boy Big Bluger 97 here to talk to you about My Hero Academia manga chapter 245 titled Uprising. And oh boy, do we have some news in this chapter. Well, to start off, next chapter cover is apparently going to be a color page celebrating, get this, My Hero Academia's Season 4 anime. You know what that means. Chances are high enough I'm probably going to do episode reviews. Yeah, that's basically it. I may do just episode reviews, mainly because it covers probably the most interesting arc in My Hero, which is the 7 Precepts arc, with one of the most evil characters in this show. I'm not going to say what he does, but it's pretty evil, but that's besides the point. This chapter drops significant points to what's going to happen later on in this series. And yeah, I'll say this, My Hero may not be going on as long as we think, but I'll get to that later on. First of all, the first few pages are pretty simple. The first few pages of this chapter are basically Endeavor looking at Hawks and thinking to himself, what is wrong with you? No, seriously, what is wrong with you? Because the idea of it is that Endeavor kind of has an understanding of Hawks' personality. So when he's is talking to Hawks right now, Hawks is acting completely differently than what he normally does. And in this chapter, Endeavor picks up on this, which for a few things shows that Hawks and Endeavor, after the incident, have actually a decent relationship with each other. And also, it shows that Endeavor truly is a hero, in the sense of he is trained, he has the experience and the know-how to pick up on these signals that sure he probably wouldn't have picked up on if he wasn't with Hawks, if he didn't know Hawks and Hawks didn't help him. But still, how he was able to just basically deduce yo, something's wrong with Hawks right now, it's just shows just how good of a hero he is and how long, just showing his experience. But then I'll say this, immediately after Endeavor is something's wrong with him, Deku just comes in out of nowhere. It's oh wow, a book that the second best hero at this moment is recommending Hawks. Oh wow, maybe I should read this book. And without missing a beat, he knows how to shield. He's hey guys, I have books for you. A book for you, a book for you, a book for you. And everyone's wow, you carry a lot of those copies from. By the way, where did you get those from? And basically for the next few pages, he's basically pumping this book. Advocating for this book. But he's doing it they're realizing he's doing this, but he's extremely fast. He takes the books out of nowhere and it's alright, oh wow, y'all really want to read the books? Here you go. Wait, why is this book in my hand? He moves so fast that apparently wow, he was able to hand them out fast too. And with this, they're when you really think about it, these kids look up to these heroes. So when one of them says oh yeah, you should read this book, they think oh, maybe we should read this book. And maybe this book, and then Midoriya makes just a comment maybe this book is his secrets. Maybe this is how he's able to move that fast. And he's exactly right, Midoriya. It's just very hilarious. Among everything in this chapter, I just enjoy the interactions that the characters have with one another. And I think that's probably My Hero's strongest strong point. It's just the interactions that the characters have with each other and how they're able to play off of it. With Hawks and Midoriya, that's just good banter between them, as well as Shoto chiming in, and as even as Hawks is talking about the Liberation Army, how he's the new philosophy, and I'm telling all of my friends there's like banter going in between them. But what's more importantly is that Endeavor is like looking at Hawks like something's wrong, while Hawks is thinking in his head like, please Endeavor, please like train these heroes, make sure that they're ready, because they all are like, wow, I can't believe like this is so cool. And one of the better interactions is that Bakugo just says, he pisses me off. So if anything, it's like great interaction, but it also is build up to what happens later on in the chapter, is how great of an actor Hawks is, and like how that ties to his skills that even at a young age he's able to pull off like something this like elaborate, which I will talk more about later on. But like he basically has a coded message in this book, and like how he acted and like towards them was like in like a nonchalant way, which shows like he's very convincing, where it's like he's basically telling Endeavor straight up something's wrong, and people just didn't notice it. And I'll get more into that later. But after like Hawks leaves, we probably get the strongest part of this chapter, which is the characters' interaction with Endeavor sidekicks and Deku, Midori, Izu. Oh wow, redundant. With Deku, with Bakugo, and with Shoto, and their interactions with Endeavor sidekicks, which one of them, she's hot. She's very hot. She's also on fire, apparently. There are a lot of fire puns. She basically just reminds me of a female Bakugo with huge personality. Yeah, her personality is very flamboyant, like fire. Like, she's just straight up says, "Welcome to the Hero Agency," is yelling, and the text is kind of similar to like Bakugo's text, but just not as like angry. And so like basically what happens pretty much for the next few pages after this is that the sidekicks basically explain to these kids how the Hero Agency works, which is basically like, yo, we are a Hero Agency, there are 30 of us, we each we all like work together to do 100 cases. And then she's like, but do you know what this means? And this is just ties to like the banner of the chapter, is that, by the way, y'all are basically useless. But then Bakugo makes like a fine assumption, like, oh, well, if there's that many people, then we'll just still work. And that makes sense. It's like, if there's so much work, and like if there's like a set amount of jobs and there's more people to do those jobs, you have to fight for those jobs. And that's basically like what they're doing, which makes sense because they are the #1 hero agency, so they have like a lot of work to do. And if anything, what is very funny about these people is that there's just in the background saying "Flame On," which just shows how much this writer of this show is really into heroes, because "Flame On" is a signature catchphrase for the Human Torch, which Endeavor controls fire. The girl who's there is fire. Probably everyone there is fire based, which I have a theory. Deku's gonna have a fire quirk. Maybe not exactly, but he's gonna have a quirk that involves heat, because as far as we know, like everyone doesn't directly have like a fire ability here, but one of them looks like a fire breathing like Shogun dragon. Another one looks like an Oni, and Oni's breathe dragon. Heck, even the female is literally, her hair is on fire. And even when it comes to like Shoto, fire-based ability. Bakugo can do explosions. So this is just a slight theory, like running off. I think Shoto's one of his new abilities, not Shoto's, but Deku's new abilities is gonna involve fire, or at the very least heat. But yeah, basically what is happening is just like fun interactions. They're playing off of people, and they're saying everyone is lively, and they get more into like the understanding of like how the agency runs, and like how they get work and whatnot, which is very funny because it's like we are so busy to the point at which like we have to like steal jobs, and for y'all interns to do this, y'all have to steal jobs from the pros, and they're like, yo, I'm so glad that y'all are motivated. By the way, we have to win our endeavor. And they make a comment of like, what? But you have like 100 cases every day. Why are you? It's just Bakugo being Bakugo. But like, all in all, like the interactions in this chapter were very good. Like I enjoyed all of them. But now we're getting to the nitty gritty, where like Endeavor comes to the full conclusion. Yeah, Hawks was acting suspiciously weird. Like, not like weird as in like, oh, he was acting a little bit different. No, he was like, he comes to the conclusion, you're very different from what you were then. It's like, and he kind of like deduces what Hawks does. It's like, you are the type of person who like doesn't really change that much. Where it's like, you like care for other people, and like when you're serious, you try to make a joke out of it, but you always speak from your heart. And he's like, but what you did right now is the total opposite. And then he questions like the phrasing, because like even with Hawks, it's like it seemed natural, but even like the phrasing of it seemed a little bit off. And Endeavor catches on to that. And then by doing so, and I think what ties is like both of us. And then like another thing is that he talks about my recognition as the number 2. And it was like so many 2s being brought up. And he talks about, look at the highlighted parts. So with all the 2s, Endeavor comes to a conclusion to look at every second word that is highlighted, to the point at which it comes to like he gets a message from it. And there's a 2-part message to it. The first part basically reads, the enemy is the Liberation Army and the League of Villains, and they have like 100,000, which apparently 100,000, I thought it was like 10,000, no, it's 100,000. Like, their ranks are huge. And like, it is also, what is interesting is that it's parallel, like when Endeavor finally realizes that, oh, this is what Hawks is saying. Hawks is like, please realize that you got the message, because he realizes that, yeah, Endeavor is real dense. Like, he's very steadfast, which is true, but it also shows that Endeavor has changed, where he's not as steadfast. Because if it wasn't for the fact that Endeavor is changing, maybe he wouldn't have gotten the message really, because he was like, I don't need this kid's help, or forget this kid. Because he's changed, it is actually starting to work out for the better, to the point at which like Hawks could basically say straight out, but not straight out, it's like, yo, we're freaking screwed. We need help. So, because immediately after that, Hawks just goes and visits the Liberation Army after Endeavor finally realizes how many people he's going to be fighting and who exactly he will be fighting in the future. We see Hawks basically talking to the round table of the new League of Villains Liberation Army villains. And when I mean round table, I mean they look like villains now. Just everyone just sitting at the round table is like, okay there, Hawks, what have you to tell the panel? And it's just very, it just oozes stereotypical bad guy. But that's great, because they aren't the typical villains and bad guys, which just juxtaposes that. Also, what is weird is that there's an extra seat, but I think it's funny because they have this open seat, and you're thinking, oh, maybe that's Hawks. In actuality, it's Gigantomachia, and the only reason why the seat is open is because he's just in the back. Actually, no, I'm wrong. It's probably Shigaraki. Now I think about it. You know what? Just thought of it. It turns out it is Shigaraki, but that's besides the point. Basically, Hawks just relays to like the people is like, yo, yeah, they don't accept the thing. And like the people are like, oh, okay, so you were able to talk to Endeavor. Oh, and you realize that freaking Deku's there? And then Copper's like, Deku's there? What a coincidence. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty coincidental. And probably the best part of like this part of this chapter is probably Toga. Cause she's like, cause she has a hide up, she's either watching a funny video or no, what's funny is that she's watching Deku, and because she has a crush on him, she's like, oh my gosh, Deku-chan is so cute. He would be better if he was bloody. She doesn't say that, but we all know he's thinking it. But probably the interesting part about this one is the comment that Donnie makes, where he's like, he hasn't grown much, has he? And then Hawks responds with like, well, he still is a student after all. Which is probably tied to like Todoroki, which just builds upon the idea that Todoroki and Dabi are probably siblings, which is Dabi is Todoroki Shoto's brother theory. But besides that, like, he basically conveys it was like, oh yeah, but nothing's really going on. And then Hawks gets dismissed. But we learn a new ability of his, which kind of explains like how he's able to do things that he's able to do. Because he has transmitters on his feathers, but apparently he has the ability to like sense vibrations. And this is kind of established earlier on when he like says that he has like almost telekinetic control over his feathers. So it also shows like how great of a hero he is, because he's basically like perfected his quirk to the point in which he's developed the ability to be like basically have like wireless hearing in a way, where through the vibrations of the air he's able to determine like, oh, this is what this person is saying, this is what this person is saying. So he's like listening in on a conversation while he is being basically tracked and like recorded as well. He's able to hear recordings while he's recording. And like what happens during this time is that they basically talk about like, basically the end is near, and how like, oh yeah, the training is going well. Shigaraki is about to get new power, which that's something else I'm going to talk about later. But the final page of this chapter is Endeavor coming to the realization, decoding the message fully, like all 4 months. Is like what it says, and it basically says in 4 more months, and Toga basically sums it up: in 4 more months, all things will be destroyed. And then the chapter ends with that, and Shigaraki, who what we're assuming is training, or is about to get more power from someone. Who? All for one, possibly. Through getting the Gigantomachia, or maybe he's just training. But yeah, that's the end of the chapter. What this chapter basically tells us is my hero may be coming to an end sooner than we think. Because I kind of assumed that, oh yeah, it may go off like maybe 5 more years. Probably as long as like Naruto or even Bleach. But apparently, based off this, like in 4 months, like chances are high enough Deku may have to face Shigaraki for a final fight. Or in 4 months, All Might die. It's very vague on what it means, but like basically the idea is that their plan will come to action, and possibly what's gonna happen is either A, they become semi-successful and like destroy a large chunk of society. B, they kill All Might, but they fail at like destroying society. But then they kind of succeed because All Might is dead. Like the symbol has fallen, but still exists in this point now. But if they somehow kill All Might, symbol of peace is dead. Like this symbol of peace no longer exists, but the actual person technically remains, so people could still look up to him. But if he dies, everything is probably going to come to an end. So if anything, this is like approaching more of like the end game of My Hero, which I never thought that I would be saying in this like day and age, because like My Hero is barely 5 years old in reality. It's barely reached like that milestone. So it's hard to really think that it may be ending sooner than we think. But all in all, when it comes to this chapter, I didn't think it was like oh my gosh, best chapter of the year chapter. But I still thought it was a really good chapter, mainly because even though not a lot happened, there was a lot of interactions between the characters that I really enjoyed, as well as the fact that it basically is setting up possibly the end of the series, or potentially the death of All Might, because one of 2 things is going to happen in the 4 months time, which coincides with the end of their first year at UA. Either All Might's gonna die, the heroes may win and nothing happens, or the villains may win in a form of fashion. So it's vague on what's gonna happen, but what it entails is going to be big within the story. So all in all, thought it was a good chapter. Enjoyed the interactions, enjoyed the setup. If anything, I'll probably give it a 4 out of 5. So that's all I really want to talk about right now. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this review, and I cannot wait for My Hero Anime to come out. Season 4. Get hyped, guys. Catch you guys later. Bye.